Um, I am very interested in boxing, and I have always been. Something that is could have been something that is has been very disappointing for me is something that I have been waited for uh, in from the early 90s, perhaps 91, 92 or so. A fight between Mike Tyson and Tommy Morrison, because I was very into these two boxers back in the days from early 90s or so. Well, Mike Tyson a lot earlier than that, but Tommy Morrison from the early 90s, I believe. And I actually know that Morrison was about to. Morrison actually had a contract saying that he would fight Mike Tyson in 1997. But he got his HIV diagnosed back in 1996. So that contract, I guess that contract was kind of like, like this. So I actually know that during this time, 1996, when the contract was signed, I actually know that Tommy Morrison um, actually had 46 wins. I mean, that's a lot. And now we're talking probably about, I think, from late 80s. Well, yeah, I think late 80s or so to 1996. And if we are talking knockouts, I'm not talking about technical knockouts, I'm just talking about knockouts. I think that was actually 14 by the time to 1996 in his professional career. So Tommy Morrison, actually was he was a good boxer, even though he was well known of his um, glass shin, and well, I believe that he was a very hard hitter, but he left. I think he left a lot of open areas as well in his boxing style. So, and he was well known for his left hook. So I think it could have been a very interesting fight, Tyson Morrison. Looking, if I'm looking at Mike Tyson during the time of 1996, he was actually a champion as well at the time, just the same as Morrison had been earlier than 1996. So they both have been champions, even though Mike Tyson had more experience of being a champion because he is the youngest in the world to be a heavyweight champion. So I think it actually, looking on the records, actually Tyson during the time had 45 wins. So that's only one difference between Morrison 46. So I think that, well, I think probably think they would be equal to each other during the time, because Tyson actually also had 14 by knockouts. I'm not talking technical knockouts. I'm talking about knockouts. One punch, one fall. So it actually, I think, if I'm about to talk a little bit about the chances of Morrison taking the championship title off of Tyson, I don't think that would have been happening. It would have been a very interesting fight, though, but I don't think that, Tyson was a lot more explosive than Morrison. And I am very sure about that Tyson would have knocked out Morrison at the time by 1996. Um, so, but I think that the fight have would been very interesting in that matter of both being uh, very good boxers, very unique boxing styles. Tyson known for his boxing style and Morrison known for his boxing style. Morrison actually had been up for a very few um, boxers before, such as George Foreman. Yeah. So Morrison actually took the heavyweight title off George Foreman. So and that was back in 1993, I believe, 1994 maybe. I think 1993, yeah, actually. So he actually had been up to some very great boxers, and I mean, talking about George Foreman, I mean, back in the 60s and until 1976 when he retired, well, retired for, at the time, uh, Foreman had been a very, very, very good boxer. So Morrison, I actually think that he had the experience. So I actually think that he could have a chance to Tyson, but I don't think he would have been winning because Tyson would actually knock him out, I believe, within 3 rounds, I believe. Tyson is well known for uh, knockouts within 1 or at least 2 rounds or so. So well, it would be in a very interesting fight, and I'm very sad about we never get to see that fight because uh, we all know that Morrison didn't make it that far. He didn't do much from 1996 to 2013. So I actually think he only went 2 rounds, two fights after 1996, and that's 2007, 2008, I believe. And those fights were just something that no one really knew about. They knew that he would do a comeback, of course. Uh, I saw some boxing magazines, the cover of a boxing magazine telling with a picture of Tommy Morrison and some lettering telling that he was doing a comeback, and I was thinking, wow, that's awesome. But he didn't really do anything. Just some tiny, small fights, nothing. And he wasn't even a good boxer in the later, at the end, so to speak, from 2007, 2008. I think he did two fights, and it wasn't even a good fighting. I mean, I think he won though, but nothing exciting at all. So, but Tyson actually, from 1996, he did some very good fights, even though he retired back in 2006, 2000, yeah, I think 2006. So, well, actually, I'm very sad about we didn't get to know how this fight would have been. Morrison just have signed a contract worth a hell of a money, and then get that information about the disease, so to speak. So that would pretty much ruin his life, I believe. So, well, I think that at least we get to know how it went for Tyson, and I'm very lucky to have been watching all the fights with Tyson, uh, even the amateur fights that is available. Um, so yeah, that's actually very sad. Tyson versus Morrison. Well, Morrison would be the challenger. So, and I know that they both would be very aggressive in the first round, first two rounds perhaps. But Tyson was so aggressive uh, the first two, 3 rounds, especially the first round. I mean, he gave it all just from the beginning, looking for a knockout immediately. That's the style of Tyson's boxing style. So uh, it actually feels like I have some ideas in my head how it could have been. I mean, everything is about how that day would be for each of these two individuals. I mean, looking for some of the earliest, no, some of the newest fights with Tyson, probably his last, I believe. I mean, he came out and looked to be in good shape and everything, but he did a very bad job there, and stated later after the fight that he wasn't really looking to win. He was just doing the fight because he needed the money. So it all it, it has everything to do with how these two individuals have been feeling just that particular day. If something had been wrong uh, with any of those two individuals, I think that it would have been shown in the fight pretty much immediately, because it's very, very easy to see if something is wrong with one or another in a very early stage in the fight. So I really think that overall it would been a very interesting fight. Kind of like, well, that is not anything in this video to talk about, but Peter McNeely versus Mike Tyson. I had some expectations. I didn't expect that to happen, but actually, I mean, Peter McNeely, of course, he has been a great fighter too, but I mean, Tyson, of course, he would have been the winner. I mean, just during the first 20 seconds, I think kind of like Peter McNeely was down kind of like 3 times or so. And within a minute, there was a technical knockout. So, yeah, that's what it is. So, I don't think there is very much more to talk about. This is just some few words regarding Tyson Morrison fight, and I guess we will have to be happy with the fights that Morrison did in his career, and that he actually was a heavyweight champion for a short period of time uh, back in 1993. And Tyson actually had a great career, a little bit longer than Morrison though. Tyson was a champion a few times as well. So yeah, I think we have to be happy with that, and um, look what is there to come in the future. There is a lot of great fighters out there. Um, I'm very I like very much to sit down and think about the past. Um, Frank Bruno, Evander Holyfield, George Foreman, all these great fighters. Uh, so it's fun to just sit down and think about it and, um, you know, maybe watch some of the fights and remembering when watching them live on pay-per-view on the TV, actually back in the late 80s or perhaps early 90s or whenever it was. So yeah, um, that's what it is. Take care now. Bye bye then.